I found this Ask Reddit post from today, and it was, I think how many people here from the UK and how many people from outside the UK? Because this will be good. It'll be good to have, it'll be interesting to people from the UK, and also we'll be able to get confirmation from people outside the UK. So, okay, there's a good mixture. There's a good mixture of each. Okay. So the Ask Reddit question was, what in Harry Potter did you think was magic, but later realized was just British? So I'm going through these, and I was so shocked by some of them. So I think it could be quite interesting for you guys. So the first one was people selling you stuff off trolleys on trains. Thought that was so cool, then went to the UK and it was for real. Do you not get things sold on trolleys in other countries? Surely that's like a super common thing. Come around with your little trolley and you can buy sweeties and like teas and coffees and pop. And it's a European thing. Not in Australia. Not in the US. Oh my gosh. No way. Sometimes they have little sandwiches and like Crispies and that kind of thing. Okay, so we're saying that this is a European thing. No, it's not, because you don't get it in Denmark, but you do get it in Taiwan. Interesting thing. Yeah, you get it on planes, but you get it on trains as well in the UK. The shorter train journeys don't have it, but like longer train journeys definitely will have it. Like if I go from London to Leeds, 100% someone will come around with a little trolley. And then sometimes you get like bars and like cafes on certain like train carriages as well. Interesting. There's a lot of carriages. But yeah, longer train journeys do have it. Okay, so the first one is proved correct. It is just British and not just Harry Potter. The next one, I thought this was really funny. It was prefects. So a lot of people reading Harry Potter thought that the prefect thing was just for Hogwarts. But it isn't. Prefects are super common in UK schools, particularly old schools or like private schools. And prefects basically help police the school, I guess. So, yeah, you have a special tie or a special badge that shows that you're a prefect. I was a prefect too, Amal. Yeah, I was personally Weasley. And you have to be like, you're not allowed in this room at this time, or like you need to fasten your top button, or it's not your time for lunch, you can't be in the lunch queue. And now I think about it, it's basically just unpaid labor. But you can put it on your CV and like for university and stuff, and it looks good. Okay, so this seems to be a private school thing, but not all countries have it. So South Africa has it, but not all European schools do. But you do have them in Australia. They've just got a different name. And yes, in India as well. Maybe it's like places that have had European influence. I don't know. You call them sentries in the US? Oh my gosh, that's like a scary word, sentries. That makes me think of, when you set up like a little sentry tower in like a game. Like, that's what that makes me think of. Like in Call of Duty or something. Public schools in the UK have them too. There we go. So you have them in public schools too. So it is like that is definitely a very common thing in the UK then. And Korea had head students. So my school had a head boy and a head girl. And then all the prefects too. So yeah. Ah, interesting. Okay, hall monitors. It is like a hall monitor. Okay, this one's funny. So a lot of them were like English words that people didn't know. So spotted dick. As a teenager reading the book Spotted Dick, didn't know what to think. A spotted dick is it's food, right? Is it a dessert? I know it's food, but I don't know what it is. I've got to be honest. Even though it's an English thing, I don't know what it is. I'm not about to Google it. It is a dessert thing. Yeah, I thought it was a dessert. So there we go. Spotted dick. And then this person also said, when Hagrid mentioned some people think Voldemort has died, and then said, that's Codswallop. This person thought Codswallop was a Wizarding World disease for the next decade or so. Codswallop is like if something's nonsense, you're like, oh, it's Codswallop. We have a lot of that in the UK. Yeah, Beanie's looking very cute. A spotted dick, a sponge dessert. There we go. It's like a dried fruit pudding. A sticky toffee pudding with raisins. Oh! Yeah, I do know what a spotted dick is then. Yeah, I was gonna Google it to like see what an image was, and then I'm like, I am not Googling that. I am absolutely not Googling that. No way in hell. Also, treacle tarts. People didn't know that treacle tart was a real thing either, but I would have thought treacle tart's quite a common thing. Never heard of any offer from the UK. I feel like it's part of the group of like older foods that people don't really say as much anymore. So I think trifle's a really old food. I think that like prawn cocktail as like a starter is old person food. And I think spotted dick is as well. How is it spelled? Exactly how you'd imagine. That's 2 words too. Okay. Interesting. And okay, this person said the entire notion of shipping your kids off to school for like 7 years or whatever. So the notion of boarding schools. Now, I would have thought boarding schools were global. Like they exist everywhere. Like I wouldn't have thought that a boarding school wasn't like a global thing. Yeah, exactly. They're food they only see at your grandma's at Christmas. Ali loves prawn cocktail as well. And I'm like, freaks me right out. We have boarding schools in the US. Yeah. I would have thought boarding schools were global too. Boarding schools exist everywhere. Yeah, I agree with that. So when I read that one, I thought that was a little bit of an odd thing. Not in American, they're here, but for the rich. I would say in the UK, boarding schools are for the rich as well. 100%. There is a boarding school close to my parents' house, but me and my brother didn't go. Boarding schools aren't as common in the US. I'd say they're somewhat common in the UK, but I don't know anyone that went to one. It is like a very elite thing. Like it's like a Tory thing. It is a Tory thing. But yeah, that's a very posh thing. Boarding schools are very, very posh. And someone said a galleon divided up into 17 sickles and however many nuts. I think that's based on like shillings and pounds, which was the old before like pounds and no, it is still our system, but we just don't use like shillings and half pennies anymore. But it's meant to be inspired by old English money. But nowadays we just use pounds and pence. But it did used to, when my mum would have been younger, it would have been like shillings and half pennies and all of this kind of thing. So yeah, and it was really weird how many made up a pound. So yeah, that is British. That is a British thing. But I guess a lot of places have like strange money. And okay, we talked about this one. Tell Ali A his feet are nice. What? A half penny is literally what it sounds like. It's a half penny. So before inflation, a penny wasn't the smallest unit of currency. You'd have a half penny. I think it was like pronounced like half penny, but it was like a half penny. Yeah. Your mum used to threaten you and your brother with being sent to boarding school, Charlie. Oh my gosh. I don't think I would have enjoyed boarding school. You guys didn't know about half pennies. This is like, I think this is a generation thing. Because, okay, this is a generation thing. This is how boomer I am. Actually, this is a millennial thing. So when I see the O2 Arena, I don't call it the O2 Arena. I call it the Millennium Dome. And I think if you're aged like 25, maybe older, maybe 28 or over in the UK, you will call it the Millennium Dome. And if you're younger, you'll call it the O2 Arena. And that is a proper little generation thing. Also knowing that the save icon is a floppy disk and using floppy disks are definitely a millennial thing. I don't know what the unit of a shilling is, but I don't know what that is. You just call it the arena in London. So when I was younger, it was a museum, and you used to go, you walked into it and you were immediately in a giant human body. And the body was like inside the Millennium Dome, and it was like a big museum. So it was completely different. So yeah. And then this part, we've had this discussion before, but do you remember when Sims added Christmas crackers and people got confused? So some people on Reddit thought that Christmas crackers were a Harry Potter thing and not a British thing. But like every single family I know in Britain has Christmas crackers at Christmas on the table, 100%. And you hold one in one hand like this, and one in the other hand like that, and then you pull at either side of your neighbor at the same time and pop the Christmas cracker. And inside is a hat that you put on if you win. And then you also get a joke and a riddle, and you get a little tiny toy. You do them in Canada, okay, and you have them in the Netherlands. And it's very normal in Australia. They aren't popular in the US, but they are available. Okay, so these are starting to become a global thing, or they already are in a lot of other countries. You have to hate the jokes. I love Christmas crackers. I like it when they've got you know, like you know, what's the name where you're like TV program, 2 words, first word, and you're like have to act. What is that game called? Why can't I remember what that game is called? It's not Pictionary, is it? Charades. Yeah, charades. Tomato, tomato. When they have that in it, I love that because I love that game. So yeah, Christmas crackers. Okay, interesting. It's not a Harry Potter thing, it's a British thing. And this person said, casually offering your guest an entire pie. So, turns out little pies are common in the UK. I'm jealous. I want little meat pies for snacks. Are tiny pies not a thing outside of the UK? Like a little teeny tiny pie. So, like, you can get a meal, like an entire meal with a pie, and the pie is like 1 person sized. Little teeny tiny pies. Yeah, okay. I feel like Canada and in the UK have a lot in common. You need a little tiny pie. Because what if you want a chicken pie and like your friend wants like a beef pie, then you get a small pie. And also mince pies. Mince pies as well. Yeah, a little mince pie too. Mince pies are always tiny, and you can also get even tinier ones that you can have two mince pies. Never heard of it. Oh my gosh. I don't think pies are even much of a thing outside of the UK though, so that kind of makes sense. Like, okay. And then this person, UK people, and people who've been educated in the UK but also have been educated elsewhere. Let me know about this one. It surprised me when I heard that Harry Potter didn't exaggerate how much when it comes... It's okay, let me try this one again. This person's written this sentence really weirdly. It surprised me when I heard that Harry Potter didn't exaggerate much when it compared the strictness of school life in the UK. I was always surprised by the series and how strict they all were. Definitely much stricter than most American teachers. But I've just heard that UK schools are just a lot stricter than American schools. Is this actually a thing as well? I didn't think Hogwarts was strict at all. I think they got away with so much. Like, is a UK school strict? I would have thought the most strict schools would have been like schools in like Korea and Japan. That's what I would have expected. In Sweden, some schools can be very strict. Like, I would say it's just the level of strictness that I'm used to. Like, if I'd have gone into school with makeup on, a teacher would have literally given me a cloth and made me wipe my makeup off. When you were in sixth form, you were okay, but younger, you could. You had to have your top button done, and you had to have your like skirt to a certain length, and you couldn't have your skirt tucked out of your shirt tucked out of your skirt, and your blazer had to be in like good condition. And you couldn't dye your hair as well. You absolutely could not dye your hair. If you dyed your hair, they made you dye it back. So I think it might be per school. You got away with wearing makeup in year 9. Our teachers made us wipe it off. Like, literally wipe it off. I even tried to add eyebrows and they just wiped them off. And I was like, well, I have no expressions now. Some schools are strict. Some schools are strict in South Africa as well. That's very strict. What? I think as well, uniforms aren't as common. Maybe it's outside of Europe, but I know in the US, people don't wear uniforms. But that would stress me out so much because, like, what if you didn't have that many, like, clothes, or you didn't have enough clothes to wear different clothes every day? Or, like, your clothes had holes in them. Like, that would be so stressful. Or, like, people picked on you for how you dressed. I'd be stressed out without a school uniform. Private schools use uniforms in the UK, in the US. Uniforms are so common in the UK. If someone in the UK told me they went to a high school without a school uniform, I would be more shocked. That would really shock me. This is interesting. We're learning like all the differences. No school uniforms in Italy. What? Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to wear jewelry either, Moonrose. You'd have to hide it under your jumper. They're uncommon in South Africa. Whoa. I'm in the UK and my hair is dyed, so every day I spray it brown for school. Well, yeah, that's schools, UK schools. Wow, interesting. Squid, yes, I will be. I will be. Interesting. Okay, and then the other one that someone said is that they thought that school houses were just for Harry Potter and was shocked to learn that houses were a normal thing for the rest of school. We had school houses. In fact, a lot of houses, a lot of schools outside of my school, I know had school houses. Like my friends and cousins all had houses in their school as well. Yeah, so okay, so if you have houses in your school, are you in the UK or are you outside of the UK? My school house was green as well, Levensy. I was green, which was Benstead. And then we had red Ackroyd, yellow's Halbot, and blue was Lee. I think they were all named from people that went to the school previously and went on to do stuff or something. I don't know. Fruitish, thank you so much for the raid. Can we welcome everyone in from the Fruitish raid, please? We're talking about things that people thought were just from Harry Potter and then were shocked to find out they were actually British. And yeah, that was school houses were the one we were saying. How did the houses work in schools other than Harry Potter? So we had different ties. My school wasn't too heavy with the houses, but as soon as you came into the school, you had 4 trophy cabinets. And inside the trophy cabinets was trophies for each of the 4 houses. So like if we won hockey, we'd get the hockey trophy. If somebody won like an English prize, they'd get an English trophy and it would go in the trophy cabinet. So you could tell like which houses were the most successful. And my house, which was green, and the house, which was red, had like the most trophies. We didn't actually have house points though. But yeah, we had sports days that were house. All of our sports was house segregated. So I would always be on the same team and we would like always do a championship against other houses. But other than that, it wasn't that strict. But I know people who went to other schools. So there was a school that my cousins went to. It wasn't a private school, but they did have houses. They had different jumpers. They had classes in their houses as well. And if they got punished, their house would get punished too. So theirs was really strict. But mine wasn't quite as much as that. It was more sports and award based. So yeah. Your house was called Forest, but it was red. Yeah, that is like Hogwarts. That is like Hogwarts. And yeah, you had to buy when you got sent your uniform list. That is very Hogwarts. So when I got into my school, I got an acceptance letter. And in the acceptance letter, it told me things that I would have to bring to school. And all the uniform and all of the sports uniforms. So I had to bring like hockey socks and like you had to buy the jumper, the sports jumpers, and the sports t-shirt that was for your house, your specific house. And you couldn't wear other people's house colors. So yeah. So yeah, I liked the house thing. I really liked that. I thought that was quite cool. And then another person said, nothing magical, but in one of the books, they referred to Harry as wearing trainers. I was reading a thing about at the same time as my sister was potty training with training underwear and thought that everyone at Hogwarts was wearing training underwear until they asked their mom about it. I guess in the US, trainers are called sneakers, right? So I can see how that would be quite confusing. But yeah, we call them trainers, not sneakers. If someone said sneakers in the UK, I'd be like, you're trying really hard to sound American. It's called trainers. Definitely trainers. Is there any ice hockey in the UK? No, ours is field hockey in the UK mainly. Some universities do have ice hockey actually, but it's not as common. It is just not as common. People being able to ice skate in the UK, I just don't think is as common. Kiara, thank you so much for the 5 months in a row, my love. I made you fall in love with the English language. To even switched to university to study more. Hugs from Italy. That's amazing. And Beth is bubbly. Thank you so much for gifting a sub. Maybe just make sure you say thank you if you were gifted. Blue Roses for the 11 months in a row. Ella Marie for the 4 months in a row. Oh, bless you. Giving you big hugs. Well done for getting through all that. And Rosie Amber, thank you so much for 20 months in a row at tier 2. Thank you so much for being here at tier 2. Alan Ayla Talsh, thank you so much for the 12 months in a row. 14 months in total. Have some flowers. And Mushroom Cake, thank you so much for the 7 months in a row. Femel for the 16 months in a row. 17 months in total. We just call it a shoe-in. No, show-in. I thought it was the little shoe-in, so I'm like, yeah, I can totally understand that. Shoe-ins. I'm seeing if there's any more interesting ones. Oh, at 10 years old, I had to Google Knickerbocker Glory to see if it was real or not. I think Dudley gets a Knickerbocker Glory in the books. Yeah, Knickerbocker Glory is like, again, these are old school. Harry Potter is set in the 90s. That's like, what, like 30 years ago? A lot of the things that are terminology isn't as common now. But Knickerbocker Glory is like an ice cream dessert. They're usually really big. And yeah. I see if there's any other. He was at Privet Drive being in Surrey. The Ministry of Magic. Okay. The Ministry of Magic sounded like something just from Harry Potter world to me. When I visited England, that's when I learned there is a Ministry of Defense, a Ministry of Agriculture, and they're just their versions of the US Department of. I think some of our names have changed now. But yeah, in the UK, we have ministers, and each minister gets a ministry, like something to look after. Knickerbockers are pants. Knickers are pants, and boxers are pants. But Knickerbocker is the dessert. I know that's really confusing, but it's just the way it is. So it would make sense if there was a ministry if there was magic in the UK, that there would be a minister of magic. And the Ministry of Magic as well would make total sense. That's probably what it would be called. Mo, thank you so much for the bits. I tried to get a scholarship to a boarding school, but I didn't get in, so I went to my local school. I think boarding schools sound terrifying because you can't come home at the end of the day if you're having a tough time with people, you know? Harry Potter isn't as magical anymore after reading this. I think a lot of the things in Harry Potter are very true to life as a kid who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. Like, I think one of the reasons I loved it so much is because it felt like my own school years, especially because I went to a private school with some quite eccentric teachers. And so it really reminded me of my own school experience. And I used to pretend that my school was Hogwarts as like a bit of a form of escapism from my old school. Brina, thank you so much for the 11 months in a row. Jojo, thank you so much for the bits. We had the fingertip rule. Yes. For your, was that for your tie? No, it would have been for your tie. Was it for your skirts? Yeah, that makes sense, for your skirts. And tuck into our shirt. Our uniforms are strict in sense of color, no logos or bright colors. And Francis, kind of thank you so much for the 11 months in a row. Hope you have a great week as well. Tiny Tiger Toast, thank you so much for the bits. Sweden has very relaxed schools. The thought of somebody stripping away your individuality and freedom of expression through clothing and makeup gives me anxiety. See, I think there's pros and cons of school uniform. I, as somebody who had a bit of a difficult time in school, I would have found it more stressful having to dress myself for school each day if I couldn't just put the uniform on. I preferred having a uniform, I think. I didn't at the time. At the time, I hated it. But looking back, I think it makes school life a lot easier. I think fingertips rule, Irish, is if you stand up, your skirt has to go to here. But in my school, it has to go to here. Although the older you got, the more you just, like, didn't do that. And H2O Queen, thank you so much for the bits. I'm glad you find it a solid and loving community. Oh, my lovely. Giving you a big, huge hug. You'll always have this community. Hiccuping. You'll always have this community. And Zarella, thank you so much for gifting a sub. If you're gifted by Zarella, please make sure you say a big thank you in the chat. Thank you. And I'm seeing if I can see any other things. Oh my gosh. Get this one. You probably, even if you're not from the UK, you will have heard me say this in videos. But not magical, but when I was a kid, I always imagined snogging as wiping boogers, bogies, and snot across each other's faces with their noses when they would kiss. What? And then someone said I didn't have this picture, but I thought snogging was a Harry Potter world. I didn't know it was a thing until I watched the UK Love Island. You thought it was nose related as well. What? Snogging, what do you call snogging in the US? In the UK, we call it like snogging or getting off with someone. That's what we always said at school. Or Vladimir got off with Vladimir. It just means that they like snogged them. They kissed them. Making out. Yes, making out. Because that's what it calls it in Sims, doesn't it? Making out, yeah. In the UK, when I was at school, it was called getting off. Which now means something very different. But when I was younger, it just meant kissing. Wow, that word has changed. So many words have changed so much since I was in school. It does in the UK as well, Heather. But when we were younger, it didn't. It didn't mean that whatsoever. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that word had changed so much. Wow. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Oh, and Ali said that I guess because he grew up in Surrey and Harry Potter was filmed in Surrey, so maybe his tourists would come to Surrey. But when he was wearing his school uniform to school once, he got stopped by tourists that he assumed were maybe from China, and they asked to take pictures, and like they all lined up with him and his brother and took pictures because they thought that they were like Hogwarts uniforms, and it was just their school uniform. I thought that was so cute. Literally so cute. Yeah. I think it's cute. Like, Ali and his brother weren't bothered. They thought it was like just a nice thing to do. They just thought it was a wholesome experience. What else? Oh my gosh. I actually believed Hagrid's accent was totally made up to appear different from everybody else's, to make him sound more uneducated / from the countryside. Turns out it's West Country accent. I only found that out when I went to Cornwall. Oh my gosh. To be fair, the way Hagrid's accent is written is always, it's hard to write an accent. I think once you've watched the show, it's easier than to read it. I get the movies. But there is a lot of accent snobbery in the UK, so that's actually not far off what I'm assuming that it was going for. And whenever they said bollocks, as in rubbish, although I understood the intention behind it, I was just convinced it was a fantastic creature of some sorts. Yeah, it's definitely not a fantastic creature. That, again, I don't think that's as common anymore, but that used to be a very common curse. Like, if you banged your toe, you'd say that kind of thing. Or, like, if somebody told you something and it's just, like, nonsense, again. It's a bit like poppycock or codswallop. Oh my gosh, England's so weird. Oh my gosh. When in the scene where Molly says Ginny's jumper is on the car, I always figured that jumper must be some mystical contraption that flings one into the air. Because in the US, you call jumpers sweaters. We say jumpers. School jumper. Sweater. When I think of sweater, I kind of think of more something that like a middle-aged woman would wear. Oh, it's my cashmere sweater kind of thing. Whereas a jumper is like a school jumper. Sweaters are like a mid-layer. Oh my gosh, what? This is so funny. I love this thread. I actually love this thread so much. A lot of people are saying the name Hermione, but I didn't know that either. And wait, what? Someone said double-decker buses. You got double-decker buses are everywhere, right? Everywhere's got a double-decker bus. That's it. What? They're not what? Double-decker oh, that has blown my tiny mind. Wait, you nowhere else has double-decker buses? Posture check, thank you. That's really blown my mind. Okay, you have them in the Netherlands, but everywhere else is saying no. They have them in Canada. I feel like Canada and the UK are very aligned once again. Oh my gosh, this is blowing my mind. This is such an interesting conversation. Okay, Netherlands as well. Only for hire in the Netherlands. Not as public transport. What? You have double-decker buses everywhere in the UK. Like, they're as common as single-decker buses, I would say. Especially in London. But also up north. My parents' local bus between Leeds and back is a double-decker bus. 36, it's got Wi-Fi and leather seats. This is the most entertaining thread as a British person. Oh my gosh. Okay, Dudley telling his parents that he's going over to his friend's house for tea, even though he was just hanging out with them. If you say, okay, this is like, it depends on your age. Like if somebody who's in like their 50s, yeah, Wi-Fi on buses. If someone in like their 50s or 60s is like, oh, I'm going to my friend's house for tea, I assume they're literally going for a pot of tea and a gossip and a whole catch-up session. If a kid says, oh, can I go to like Kevin's house for tea? It means they're going to go over and have dinner there. That's what it means. Yeah, I would say tea is dinner as well. I think I say dinner a lot more now, but when I was younger, it was 100% tea. Like, oh, mum, what are we having for tea? But I also think that's a north-south thing, maybe. I think northerners say tea. And they don't mean a cup of tea. But they also do mean a cup of tea because we love tea as well. So, it is really confusing. Yeah, England's very confusing. A cheeky cuppa, exactly. A little cheeky cuppa. But yeah, if an elder person says I'm going for tea, I think it's a tea. But if a younger person says it, they're going to their mate's house for dinner. That's what it means. There you go. Someone said owls. I know owls exist everywhere, but owls are very common in the UK. Hearing like a little, if you live outside of a city, even in a city, and you hear a tweet-woo, that's very common. But I don't know if owls are as common everywhere. I'm assuming they are. Owls are common, right? Oh my gosh! Also, I've read this before. Sherbet lemons. The sherbet lemon is the password, I think, to get into Dumbledore's study. Sherbet lemons are really common sweets over here. It's like a hard sweet that you suck, and then in the middle, it has like fizzy powder, and it's lemon flavored. So, yeah. Do I know what mince and tatties are? Is it like a mashed potato and mince? Like a cottage pie situation? Is that what that is? Owls are common in Norway. Okay, good. I'm glad owls are common everywhere. Oh my gosh, this next one's gonna blow your mind. Ali loves sherbet lemons. He absolutely loves them, but he loves lemon flavor. Are you ready for one that's gonna actually completely blow your mind? I don't think I ever thought they were magic, but Hufflepuff's mascot was the first time I'd ever heard of badgers. Are badgers like... I think they're common in Europe, but maybe not outside of Europe. That's blown my mind. We've got like 3 living in our garden. No, 3 foxes, 1 badger. Badgers. Badger. In fact, my mum calls my dad Badger. She always calls him the Badger. Like, Badger, Badger. And we've got a group text, and if we're trying to tease my dad, we put the Badger emoji in there. Badgers are only in Europe. What? Yeah, in the US, wait, I don't think it's in the US, but is it in Africa you have honey badgers? And they're really savage. But honestly, UK badgers are kind of known for being quite savage as well. Like, you don't mess with a badger. Also, legally, you're not allowed to mess with a badger. They're protected. Badgers are found in... What? So they are in the US? Are American badgers different? Oh, yours is different. Oh my gosh, your badger's terrifying. Okay, your badger is completely different to our badger. These are the badgers. So the one on the left is the UK badger. He probably has a little flat cap and he probably has a pipe. He probably wears a green gilet and he probably speaks with quite a Surrey accent. And then the one on the right is an American badger. It's so scary. Why does it look like that? Oh my gosh. That is terrifying, guys. That is terrifying. The UK one looks cute, but they are still like, you won't mess with a badger. They've got big claws and teethies and stuff. But they, like, we have them in the garden and the dogs and cats are fine. Like, I wouldn't worry about the dogs and cats. But wow, I'm really shocked by that. It does look more beaver-like. The babies are quite cute, though. Before we completely rule out the American badger, the babies are cute. Look, these are the babies. That's cute, right? It doesn't yet know it will grow up to be a sleep paralysis demon, so... Yeah, they're scary. They're super different. That's so interesting. You okay, Bean? Are you showing your butt to everyone now? I think everyone wants to see your little butt. And oh my gosh. I got a final few now, guys. When I read it as a kid, I didn't understand that the underground was a subway. I thought they were taking some fancy magic tunnels under London by foot. No, it's called the underground, but most people call it the tubes. Tubes. But yeah, it is like your subway. But I think subway systems are more difficult because in the UK, all of the undergrounds are have a name. So yeah, not all of it's underground. We have the underground and the overground, but sometimes the overground goes underground and sometimes the underground, maybe the underground stay underground. We also have the DLR, which goes to like a very specific area of East London. I used to get on the DLR every day. I loved the DLR. I think the DLR is way better than the underground, but yeah. But the UK ones have names. So it's like westbound on the Jubilee line. That's like, or is it northbound Jubilee line? They're either northbound, southbound, eastbound, or westbound. And I just think the UK system's really easy. When I was in the US, in New York, I found the subway system difficult. So, yeah. I thought it was harder to use because there's numbers and letters. But yeah. Okay, final one. Owls and newts. So the owls are based on GCSE, which are taken at the end of the year 11, which apparently for you guys would be 10th grade. And the newts are based on A-level exams, which are taken at the end of year 13, which would be 12th grade. 100% true. And yeah, owls are based actually off O-levels. So my parents did O-levels, but I did GCSEs. And GCSEs now are broken up more so. So when I did GCSEs, it was one exam at the end of year 11 for like each subject. Whereas now you do GCSEs in modules, right? So yeah. But that's what the owls and newts are based on. GCSEs and A-levels. So yeah. Don't remind you that your GCSEs are next month. Oh no. I hated GCSEs. Actually, GCSEs I didn't mind too much. Don't want to scare you, but A-levels were so much. I hated A-levels. A-levels were so much worse. I like absolutely bombed out in year 12 and had to redo all of my A-levels again in year 13 whilst also doing year 13, and it was just horrible. It's not a chat stream. I just found Livy this was it Ivy? Sorry, Ivy. I found a post about what in Harry Potter did you think was magic, but it actually wasn't. And we just went through some of them. So yeah. I thought that was really interesting. Crumpets as well. Oh my gosh. Crumpets are magical though, to be fair. I'm going to link this to you guys in case you want to read in your own time, but I just thought that was a really fun way to start the stream. I am, however, now going to switch over to the thing you guys voted for today, which was Skyrim.